It's been a tough year on lawns in North Texas, and you're probably wondering, with the dry conditions that we have, the really hot conditions that we have, how do I water my lawn without also adding to raising prices, right? The price of pretty much everything has gone up. I know my electric bill was really high, so if I can bring my water bill down to compensate for that, hey, that's a change I want to make. So what are some things that we can do to make sure that we're watering our lawns effectively but also efficiently and avoiding some of those extra costs? Well, the first question is, how much water does your lawn actually need? Sometimes it can be hard to figure out how much is too much, how much is not enough. 1 inch per week is really kind of the rule of thumb for what you want to go for. But how do you qualify that or quantify that? An irrigation audit with tuna cans can help. Here's the thing. If you put tuna cans in different parts of your lawn, different areas, whether it's a shaded area or an open area or possibly different parts around the house, you want to make sure that you have those tuna cans kind of placed or something like that, a can like that, because what you can do is put those out there, water a little bit, water your plants, and water your lawn rather, and it's going to tell you if in, for example, 20-30 minutes of watering, are those areas getting an inch? Or how long does it take to get an inch? You can kind of experiment with that. So that's going to tell you what it takes for different parts of your lawn to get that required inch within a certain amount of time. But the thing is, you want to know when should you mow, or when should you water your lawn rather. And if you water in the morning when it's cooler and more humid, that's going to be the better option. Number one, when it's more humid, it's not going to evaporate as much, and when it's cooler, it's also going to it's going to make it more effective. It's not going to evaporate so much from the ground, and it's going to allow it to soak in some. So you want to make sure it's early in the day. If you can do it before sunrise, all the better. Try to do that in the morning hours when the humidity has risen up a little bit and before it's too hot. And that's going to be the best way to feed your lawn without constantly having to battle against the evaporation in the air. Now, how often should you water? 1 to 2 sessions per week is average. So once early in the week, once later in the week. You want to kind of spread it out. And like I say, you want to make sure you get that inch of water onto your lawn during those 2 sessions. So half an inch each time would probably be best. How long should you water? 20 to 30 minutes is best usually. Again, depending on that irrigation audit. So if more time is required to get that inch, or less time possibly, or if you need to move the sprinkler around a little bit, maybe go one place here and then a little more time over here, whatever the case might be, you kind of have to tailor it based on that irrigation audit with those cans I talked about. But 20 to 30 minutes usually is going to be the best kind of rounded time, kind of rule of thumb there. Now, what do you do if your lawn stays dry? If you are watering, trying to keep it regimented, doing it regularly, you're doing it with the guidelines, and it's just not working out, you want to gently increase coverage, but do not overreact. You don't want to overwater, right? Because you could be losing money at that point, really. You're pushing your bill up unnecessarily. Just experiment. It's a lot of trial and error sometimes, especially if you have a large yard or a lot of cover on your yard. Different circumstances can make it hard sometimes to kind of find that happy point where you can get to where you're most successful, right? So that's really what you want to do is just try to feel it out and make sure that you're paying attention closely to the effect it has. If you're watering and you just cannot get your grass to get out of that kind of gray or even brown stage, then clearly something you're doing is not working. You may need to redo that audit possibly. You may need to figure out if you have a specialized kind of grass maybe that doesn't respond well to regular watering. Whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you're paying attention and kind of keeping things consistent. Keep a log, maybe. If you're like myself, sometimes it's hard for me to kind of keep track of things over time in such a way that, just remembering, oh yeah, I watered this long on this day. Writing it down helps me. So that's why I love having written down weather records, where I can have just a whole list in front of me, and then I can keep track of, the days recently when we broke a record, because I can tell you, yeah, today we broke a record, but in 8 days from now, I may not necessarily remember just off the top of my head that we broke a record that day. So I keep a record of the records, right? That's fun to say. So, it's sometimes it's good to keep a log. Maybe put it on a calendar if you have one. Water this much this day. And then over time, you'll be able to see if those methods are not working. I hope that some of this helps. I know that this is one of the things we're going to get into more topics of the dry weather and the hot weather and the different things that we're experiencing right now. I know that this is a big part of it, and I know that this is really not just a part of managing your landscaping during the summer months when it's hot and dry. But again, expenses are going up, and we're looking to cut costs any way we can. And if you can stop wasting some of that water bill because of your yard, I think that's a win for everybody. So make sure you're paying attention to elliscountyweather.com and all the social sites for the latest on the rain and at least whatever rain we can get. Let me just touch on something I forgot. 1 inch per week, I didn't put this on here, and I want to make sure I touch on this. 1 inch per week should include rain. So if you get an inch of rain in a week, then you may not need to water. But sometimes you do. Again, that comes from listening to your, paying attention to your lawn and kind of knowing what works and what doesn't. But that 1 inch per week should include rainfall totals as well. So just keep that in mind as well. We don't really have a lot of rain happening right now, so you're pretty much getting that inch from your own devices. But make sure you're staying tuned for any kind of signs of rain that we may get, and just to get a better idea of how committed you need to be to watering that lawn. I can tell you right now, we're pretty much going to be relying on artificial watering for, I would say, probably the next couple of months. It doesn't look like we have any big pattern changes coming anytime soon. So I hope these tips work. If you have any tips that have helped you in the past, put those in the comments as well. I'm terrible at keeping up with my yard. I don't think about it. I'm working inside so much that by the time I get outside and think about it, the day's gone away from me, right? So I'm terrible at kind of getting that regimen going, but these are some tips that hopefully will help you. Again, put your tips and the things that you've learned in the comments as well, so that all of us can learn something new about managing our lawns in those hot and dry summer months.